Hello and welcome again to the Microlearning Institute. In this short tutorial we look at the concept of organizational structure, particularly as applied to project management. Now there are a number of different structures that can be selected for when we are delivering a project. Let's look firstly at what's called the functional structure. And what we mean here is that when we're delivering a project, that we select the function that best fits the project delivery to deliver that project. So for example, if it's an engineering project, we might give that to the guys in the engineering function or the engineering department. If it's an IT project, the people in IT might take it. If it's a finance project, the people in finance might take it. So we select the most suitable function. Now, the advantages of that is that the owning division or the owning department should have a lot of the relevant expertise. Additionally, specialists can share their knowledge and over time expense accumulates and expertise accumulates. And lastly, we see as an advantage that this approach provides a clear sense of ownership, and also it ensures continuity, that we know who's managing the project and who has accountability for delivering it. The disadvantages here include that it may engender a silo mentality, that the department who have been selected to deliver the project might ignore the requirements of other departments. Other specialists may not be consulted. Also, routine work may take precedence over the project because, of course, each department is already busy with functional activities, so may not be able to allocate appropriate time for delivery of the project. And also, motivation may suffer if the project is perceived as a professional diversion. An alternative approach is what's called the project structure. So here, teams are selected and individuals are selected onto project teams from different functions. So this overcomes the limitation of the functional structure because now we have individuals on teams from different functions, and these teams are formed into project teams and a project leader selected. So the advantage of this approach is that the manager has the full authority over the project with senior management backing, whereas in the previous scenario that wasn't necessarily the case. Also, we're grouping the necessary resources in the project, and that ensures rapid decision making because each project team is now made up of all of the relevant resources, whereas in the functional structure we only had resources from the one organizational function. Also, the relevant expertise is drawn from other parts of the organization. So again, this mitigates the risk of the silo mentality that we spoke about earlier being developed. Also, the project team has a strong sense of identity and a common purpose because they're working together, they're identified as a team in order to deliver the project. Some disadvantages include that this structure is suitable only for large projects as it's very expensive to manage and to resource because we need available resources from many different departments in order to form a project team. Also, we can develop isolationism, leading to an us and them culture, so the project team might become disconnected from the actual day-to-day working of the business. Also, team members may lack the technical expertise or understanding of user needs because just because somebody is expert in their particular domain does not necessarily mean that they understand the requirements of the end user. Finally, let's look at the matrix structure. And again, this is perhaps similar to the project structure, except here we appoint a project manager to manage the resources on the project. And this project manager works in a matrix structure and accesses the resources across the organization as required. So the advantages here include that an individual project manager takes responsibility, usually with strong senior management support. So we have clear leadership on this project with regard to the matrix structure. Also, the relevant resources are allocated as required. So we don't have a full-time deployment of all of the resources on the project, which, as we said, in the previous structure was inefficient. Here, the resources are allocated as required, and this gives a lot better flexibility and a lot better access to the relevant expertise. However, some disadvantages can include that decision-making power may still reside outside of the project team because, of course, each individual on the project also has an individual functional manager to report to as well as the project manager. Again, another disadvantage is that members are likely to be working only part-time in the project and to have at least two managers, one of which will be the project manager, another of which will be their functional manager, and this may cause them anxiety, particularly at times of peak load on project work or maybe peak load in the work in their own individual department. Finally, there may be a high level of competition and infighting for resources because the project manager and the functional managers are now going to be looking to get the best resources allocated to the work that they want to get done, which might of course not be in the best interest of the organisation overall. Thank you very much for watching this short tutorial from the Microlearning Institute about organisational structure in project management.